Strange stories of the sea. Stories of ships and of the men who take them to sea. Stories which are gay, dramatic, adventurous. Stories of courage and treachery, bravery and fear. Stirring factual dramas of the seascape's inexplicable pattern.
I don't suppose the average person believes in ghosts, and I certainly didn't either until an incident which happened about 20 years ago. I was about 25 at the time, making frequent trips between Liverpool and Boston for the engineering firm which employed me. I usually traveled by the Oceania, but on this occasion she was laid up for repairs, so I booked aboard the Cyrus. Oh, the name's Mark Spender, by the way. It was a beautiful June morning when I arrived at the dock. Not a cloud in the sky. As soon as I boarded the Cyrus, I went below and hailed a steward. Yes, sir. Cabin 76, lower berth. Cabin 76, sir. Right, sir. As he took my suitcase and rug, I shall never forget his expression. He turned pale and a look of fear crossed his face. You're all right, man. You look quite pale. Oh, I'm all right, sir. If you'll follow me, sir, it's down this way. I suppose the steward, as he led me to the lower regions, had had a few drinks. Yet I said nothing and followed him. Cabin 76 was on the port side, well aft. There was nothing remarkable about it. It was simply a double berth. The steward deposited my only suitcase in the cabin and looked at me as though he were in a hurry to get away, probably in search of more passengers and more tips. It's always a good idea to start off on the right foot with the steward, so I accordingly tipped there and then. My name's Harrison, sir. I'll try and make you as comfortable as I can, sir. Would there be anything else you'll be wanting, sir, before I go? No, I don't think so, Harrison. Well, in that case, sir,
Steward, is this cabin 76?
Yes, that's right, sir.
Ah, disgusting. Expecting people to live down here in the bowels of a ship? Where's the purser? Tell him Mr. Wilson Gardner wants to see him.
Well, he's rather busy,
Bring him
sir.
to me.
He's rather busy, sir. I
Don't stand there gaping like a fool. Do as I say.
Sir, if you're thinking of changing your cabin, I'm afraid you can't, because there isn't another one available.
I'll see the purser myself. I may even see the captain. Expecting civilized people to live in a... more like a Welsh coal mine.
Seemed a trifle upset. Oh, we don't worry about his kind, sir. We get 2 or 3 of them on every trip, full of complaints from when they arrive until they get off. There's nothing else you want, sir? No, thanks, Harrison. I didn't see Wilson Gardner, my roommate, until later in the evening. I was in bed when he entered, and as I was half asleep, had no conversation with him. I made up my mind that I didn't care to make his acquaintance, and I went to sleep saying to myself that I'd study his habits in order to avoid him. I was awakened during the night by a loud noise, which sounded as if my roommate had jumped from his berth above mine, banged open our door, and then raced down the passage. There was also a very strong smell of jasmine in the cabin. It's unusual, I thought, but I soon dozed off to sleep again. The following morning when I arose, I saw Wilson Gardner's curtains were drawn, so I hastily dressed before he awoke. It was a warm morning, so I went for a stroll around the deck before breakfast. On my way round, I came across the ship's doctor. A great day, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. Makes you feel good to be alive. Wonderful, fresh sea air.
Yes, there's nothing like it. And my cabin was saturated during the night with some heavy perfume. I think it was jasmine.
Not jasmine. You're in cabin 76.
What? How did you know?
Oh, nothing. Only everyone has complained about that cabin for the last 2 trips.
What, about the jasmine? Well, it wasn't noticeable in the cabin when I arrived yesterday afternoon. You don't mean...
I don't believe it can be helped. I think there's something... Well, it's not my business to frighten passengers.
Oh, wait, Doctor, don't go. You needn't be afraid of frightening me.
Tell me, have you a cabin mate?
Yes, some erratic type who jumps out of bed in the middle of the night and runs down the corridor.
Did he come back?
Yes, I imagine so. His curtains are drawn, so I suppose he's still sleeping.
Look, I don't care much for this ship. I don't give a hang for a reputation. But I do think you ought to sleep somewhere else and not in cabin 76.
Oh, really, Doctor, I don't know why...
I'm not a superstitious man, sir, but the sea makes people so. I don't want to frighten you, but take my advice and move out of cabin 76 before tonight.
Heavens, but why?
Just because on the last 2 trips, the people who have slept there have gone overboard and haven't been seen since.
The doctor's news was startling and exceedingly unpleasant. I went straight to my cabin to see if my roommate was up. The curtains were still firmly drawn, so I concluded he was probably still asleep. On my way out, I met the steward, who told me the captain would like a word with me, and then scuttled away down the passage as if to avoid any questions. I went to the captain's cabin and found him waiting for me.
Mr. Spender, I want to ask a favor of you.
Certainly, Captain.
Your cabin mate, Wilson Gardner, has disappeared. Did you notice anything extraordinary about his manner last night?
You don't mean he's gone overboard?
Yes, I'm afraid I do.
And he makes the third.
Who told you about the other 2?
It doesn't really matter who told me. The fact is I know.
I see. Tell me, Mr. Spender, did you hear or see anything unusual last night?
Well, Wilson Gardner woke me up by jumping out of bed, banging open the door, and then running down the passageway.
Anything else?
Oh, yes. There was a very strong smell of jasmine.
I thought as much. Mr. Spender, your story coincides almost exactly with what was told to me by the cabin mates of the other 2 who disappeared.
Does it, Captain?
Mr. Spender, I beg of you not to mention this episode to any of the other passengers. I don't want the Cyrus to get a bad name.
Well, I promise you, Captain, I won't.
You can have your choice of any of the officers' cabins or mine for the rest of the trip. Now, is that a fair bargain?
Very, Captain, and I'm much obliged to you, but I think I'll remain where I am. I won't mention the matter to anyone, and I think I can promise you that I won't disappear like my roommate.
Of course, you have a right to stay there if you want to. But I wish you'd turn out and let me lock the place up and be done with it.
I'd rather stay, Captain.
Just as you wish. I think you're making a big mistake.
That night, as I lay in the dark, I found sleep evaded me. I believe I must have been just dozing off to sleep when I became aware of the jasmine perfume permeating the cabin. I got out of bed, and as I went to the door, I distinctly heard something moving behind me in one of the berths. And then I heard a faint groan. Just as I went to tear the curtains aside from the upper berth, the ship gave a violent lurch, and I was flung to the floor. In an instant, the door was flung open, and a shadowy form passed through. I hastily got to my feet and looked to the left and right of the corridor, but there was no sign of anyone. And in my cabin, the smell of jasmine was quickly fading. Cold perspiration was running down my face, and I was very badly frightened. Next morning, as I went for my constitution stroll around the deck, I saw the ship's doctor again.
Good morning.
You were quite right, Doctor. There is something wrong with my cabin.
I don't doubt it in the least, Mr. Spender. I think you'd better bring your traps over to my cabin.
Look, why don't you come over and share mine, Doctor? Help me get to the bottom of this thing.
You'll get to the bottom of something else if you're not careful.
What?
The bottom of the sea. I'm leaving this ship after this voyage. There's something quite uncanny about it.
I see. And you won't help me to find out?
No, I certainly won't. It's my business to keep my wits about me, not to go fiddling about with ghosts.
Oh, now come, Doctor. Surely you don't believe it's a ghost?
Have you any other explanation? No, you have not, sir, and you won't find one. Simply because there isn't any.
I didn't care to spend another night alone in my cabin, and yet I was equally determined to solve the mystery. So I approached Captain Weeks, told him of the previous night's happenings, and asked him if he would spend the night with me in cabin 76. To my delight, he agreed to the suggestion. At 11 o'clock that evening, Captain Weeks found me on deck smoking a last cigarette, and together we went down to my cabin.
You know, Spender, this is a serious matter. I'd like to see it cleared up for the sake of the ship. If nothing occurs tonight, we'll try it again tomorrow night.
All right, Captain. Well, here we are.
No, no smell of jasmine, or anything else for that matter.
Well, there never is when you first come in. Where will you sit, Captain?
Let's see, well, I'll close the door and put your suitcase in front of it. Well, now, I'll sit on it, and then no one can get in or out without our knowing.
I think I'll lie on my bunk.
Yes, good idea. You know, Mr. Spender, the first time it happened was last February. The passenger who slept here was... What's that?
It's Jasmine. The lights have gone out.
Someone's pushing the door open.
There's someone in the upper berth, Captain. Hold the door while I look. Let me go! You all right, Captain?
Yeah, a bit knocked about. Otherwise, I'm all right. Let's get out of here quickly.
Do you want to hear any more? Well, there's nothing more to tell, really. But cabin 76 has been boarded up. And if you ever take a trip on the Cyrus, you may ask for that cabin. But you will be told it is engaged. Yes, it is engaged by a ghost. The explanation? A woman was found murdered in cabin 76 on the maiden voyage of the Cyrus. And in her hand was a broken bottle of jasmine.
Ships and the men who take them to sea. Stirring factual dramas of the seascape's inexplicable pattern are woven together in Strange Stories of the Sea.